Kind of what do you give advice to upcoming salespeople?
Sales is 95% is listening to the customer and not talking and not trying to.
Sales experts, I think you break ice every time, every hour, every day. How to break the ice?
Breaking the ice, I would say, is always being honest. Just tell the truth. I'm a founder. I have a beautiful product. At least I think it's beautiful. I would say 8 of 10 startups, I have no numbers on that. That's just my gut feeling. Get their first 10 clients from their network and not from cold calling or cold emailing or social media.
I'm a scientist, for example. I want to start a startup.
Yeah.
Who should I choose? Another scientist as a co-founder, or a business development person, or?
We are not open enough to question our own solution, because we are prejudiced and we have this beautiful cup, and you have to fail. You have to go outside and talk to the people, make mistakes.
How do you handle the rejection?
The rejection.
No. Yeah. The word no.
Normally, that's my experience. Every startup starts with a product idea, or very many start with a product idea. But
okay, so what I understand now is sales is not one direction. That means so Sebastian, thank you so much for coming to my podcast.
Thanks for the invitation.
Let's start this podcast with a simple question. When and why you decided to enter into the business field, or to become a self-standing, kind of self-employed? Yeah,
that's a good question, because no one in my family is self-employed. Okay. So I was being asked. So it's a very simple answer. Can elaborate on that. So I was part of a student organization where I met my co-founder. And his family being self-employed is kind of the standard, I would say.
Okay.
And he decided very early that he would like to be self-employed himself. Yeah. And he was working as a consultant, as a SAP consultant, and the work was really tough. So they had to work like 80 hours a week, and he decided that he can also do that for his own company. So he asked me in October 2014 whether I would like to work with him.
You remember that?
I remember that, yes, because it was on an event in Augsburg. And I hadn't thought of that before, but I could make friends with this idea, and and then I started to. My condition was that I would like to work somehow in some company just to get just together experience. Because in 2014 that was the end of my bachelor studies, so I haven't been working at all in a company. So I said to my co-founder that I would like to work for some time in a company before we start our own thing. Okay. So we set ourselves a deadline 2017, but due to the impatience of my co-founder, we brought things faster rolling, and that was September 2016 that we started our own company.
But he waited for 3 years.
He usually committed himself waiting for 3 years. In the end, it was 2 years.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So then you were asked, right? You did not expect this before.
Yes.
But what qualities do you think attracted him so that he approached you?
Oh, that's a nice question. I would say, of course, kind of a sales. I wouldn't call it an expertise, more an interest in the topic of sales. I think you always need sales if you want to be self-employed. So you cannot avoid that. The second thing is, I would say, the positive attitude that I'm always bringing into the relationship, and on the other hand, I would say also that he just liked to work with me, maybe because of the punctuality, or maybe the commitment, or the dedication to solving conundrums, so to solving open questions. I think it was a mixture. That would be my answer. But that's a very good question. So I haven't asked that him before.
That's nice. Yeah. And what was the business that you started together?
Yeah, we had an interesting story. So we, in the 2 years where I was working in a job as a sales manager myself, we went to 3 different European cities. So to Dublin, to Lisbon, and to Barcelona.
Okay.
And during those weekends in those cities, we were working on our business idea. So we created a list of 22 problems that we would like to solve, 22 different startup ideas. And then we found out that for all the startup ideas, you need the same things. You need IT, you need people, you need sales. So you always need the same topic. So you cannot start a startup without IT, sales, the knowledge about people, or access to people. So, and of course you need money, right? So because you cannot start a startup without money as well, because most startups need a bit funding in the beginning. And then we found out that we don't have any of those things at hand. So we said, okay, we have to start with a service, because then we can sell ourselves and our time, and that's easier in the beginning. So then we started to sell the only thing that we had, and that was maybe sales skills, right? So we sold our sales time, so our time for doing sales for other startups, and also after some time changed that to conducting sales trainings. That was the start.
Did you learn sales in your bachelor's?
Not during the studies, but during my bachelor's, yes, because I was part of that student organization. And in this student organization, we were selling kind of micro consulting projects, like market analysis, or maybe process visualization, or maybe a PowerPoint training. So simple stuff, but we had to sell it all the same. And so we learned sales also during the bachelor studies, or during the studies, because of that engagement in the student consulting group. And then I was active as a sales manager myself. I wouldn't say that I got a very sufficient sales training there. It was more like learning by doing, right? So,
That's how you decided to sell your sales skills.
Yes. So that was the only thing that we had. So we had to sell what we had. So play on your strengths, right? Or at least what you think that your strengths are.
Okay.
And and after some time, so I mean that's now 8 years ago, but after some time, the original method, so doing sales as a service in order to earn money, in order to do something else, changed more and more into the purpose. So for me, doing sales, so now how I would now put it is to solve other people's sales conundrums. So to help them with their sales processes, with their market approach. That's more or less what I really love to do. So there was I would say a very interesting journey. So starting from doing sales as a method in order to earn money, and now I'm doing that more like a purpose, right? So and that's also how the company evolved. So one day we skipped the list of those 22 ideas and said, okay, now we just do what we love and see how far we get with that.
I thought till very recently you have an idea, so you open a website or a shop, just start doing business, and there are no sales.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
so idea, product, and kind of website and a bit of social media presence is not enough.
No.
That's what I understood.
Yeah.
So you really need somebody to bring that product or whatever, the purpose, really to the market. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why do you think sales are really important?
Yeah.
How otherwise?
Yeah. For a startup or in general.
Since I was into the startups, so I'm interested to know first to the startups.
Okay. Yeah. Got you. So, what does sales mean for a startup? I think there are different purposes of the sales department in a startup. And the first and most important one, in my perception, is to find a real problem of the customer that we want to solve. Because I think if you come from the product's point of view, right? If I have this great cup and I've designed this beautiful cup and I say, hey, now I want to sell this cup, then there is a lot of assumption already included that people need this cup, and this cup is setting itself apart from other cups in the market. And the question is whether an additional cup would solve a problem for the client. So normally, that's my experience. Every startup starts with a product idea, or very many start with a product idea, but the market demand is something different.
Okay.
And you have to bridge the gap. And you do that by failing. So there are two ways. Way one is you try to sell the cup, then you get feedback from the clients, and they're gonna tell you, no, I don't need a cup. I need a glass, for example. The other way is that you say, okay, now I have this image of the cup, but now I have to make sure that the market really wanna have a cup. So I gonna investigate in the market. Whatever the market is, that's also a conundrum, right? Could be, we think more like in market segments, right? Industry, you have regional markets, you have buying motives. Do people want to have the cheap solution, the fastest solution, the best quality, the highest return on invest, the best technology? So different buying motives. We say a market segment consisting always of the region, the industry, and the buying motive, and really to find out what is the right market segment and what is the problem in this market segment that we are referring to. Okay. And this bridging of the gap needs a curiosity, but also an openness to take a step back. And also rethink the product and the solution. And that's, I would say, the first purpose of sales in a startup, to really help to get to the product market fit. And market means in a market segment, because if you approach with the same product to different market segment, you can end up with a completely different solution.
Okay.
And that's why it makes so difficult for a startup, because you have to make assumptions. It's more like the plan, do, check, act cycle in the production environment. Okay. You have to fail. You have to go outside and talk to the people, make mistakes, fail, get feedback, restart the whole thing. And you and what you need to have for that, and that is something that salespeople normally can do. You have to have a kind of an inner resilience to handle that feedback. And that's I would say the first purpose of sales within startups. It's finding the right path, and I believe that's my perception, that's my conviction. If you have enough time, we will always find a way to start that business. The question is whether we have enough time to solve this conundrum of finding the right solution for a problem in a market segment. Normally, there are two different ways why this doesn't work out. Option one is that we don't have enough money because the journey just takes too long to create this product market fit. And option B is that we are not open enough to question our own solution. Because we are prejudiced and we have this beautiful cup and we just want to sell the cup, because we really love this cup, but the question is whether the customers love the cup as well. And these are the two problems. But if we have both, enough money, so enough time and enough openness, we will always find a solution. But the solution in the end could be very different of what we have been thinking in the beginning.
Okay, so what I understand now is sales is not one direction. That means the management or idea gives a product, and now it's the duty of the salesperson to take the one to the market or direction. No, what I understand now, you redesign the product and you give the feedback back to the management, or the idea also help to really shape up the product itself or the service, right?
The product, the service, the processes, the brand, everything.
Wow.
And and that applies for startups as well as enterprises. So I believe sales is so closely in contact with the customer. They are the only ones who really know what's going on in the market. So from whom, as the entire company, should we learn if not from sales? Because if you have marketing, for example, marketing is kind of people normally, not always, but normally sitting inside and preparing a message which is going inside out, but without the feedback or without very much of a feedback. If you have product management, for example, they are the ones who are maybe the bridge between innovation, R&D, and maybe the market, but they're also working very internally. So to whom shall we listen if not sales?
Yes.
And I believe it's important as a startup, but it will be even more important once you are a settled company. Because then you are facing competition, you are facing trends and threats and market development and market shocks, and you have to find out about the reaction of the customers. And I believe that sales is the only one in the company who really knows what's going on. The problem is whether sales is listening to the customer and structuring the information in a way that everyone else can work with that. Yeah.
Interesting. So, but is the domain knowledge is challenge for salespeople that to know the product and maybe it's a new technology, and does it really hinder you or to, because you are so experienced in sales in one product or one technology, and if you have to shift to another technology, and do you still can survive or to take the challenge, or the technology shift really challenges you?
I think I know what you're getting at. I would say that's depending on the sales manager, so on the sales guy themselves, because I wouldn't start with the technology. I would start with the application. So the application of the customer. So I define application, that is the situation, also maybe the technical situation the customer is in. So for example, if you are a machine manufacturing company, then the question is, what are the detailed technical requirements, maybe the pressure, the production rate, the quality of the end product. So everything of those parameters is the what I define the application. Also maybe the expected business impact of so whether you want to have the same quality but a higher output per hour, for example. So also the expected business impact that the customer expects. And I would say if a sales manager is not investigating about whether he could sell this product, but more about the circumstance of the customer, so what I call the application.
The purpose.
The purpose that the product in the end, the solution should fulfill.
Got it.
Then you will always learn.
Got it.
Because then you will also recognize changes very, very early. And then you will also educate yourself, because your clients will educate you. Because you will ask 100 questions, and I know asking questions is being perceived differently in different cultures. But as Germans, we love to ask questions, and if you ask 100 questions, then you will learn very, very much about the clients, what they expect, what is the purpose, what is the environment, what are the processes, what is the image of the client. So what does he or she has in mind in order to solve that problem. And then you will learn automatically.
Yeah.
And then you will also be able to channel this feedback internally.
Got it.
And of course, if you now speak about technology, could be the case that you have maybe technology A. I mean, in software environment, technology could be a coding language, for example. In a machine manufacturing company, could be like
Mechanics,
like a pump technology or something like that. Of course, this is more difficult to learn, because I think I do believe that it's a challenge to learn another technology if you have been working 20 years in one technology. But I still believe, if you think it outside in, if you come from the customer's perspective, you will immediately learn when your own technology will come to its limits.
Understand.
And then you have to change something anyway, because otherwise competition will just throw you out of the market over the next years.
Yeah. The reason why I asked the question, because the new comers or new students who wants to choose sales as a career, I think they're usually afraid of the technology, because they start learning the ABCs of the technology.
Yeah.
But as you said, it is more beneficial when they start from the purposeful side of the technology, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I would say in some industries, it's definitely expected that you know something about the technology and the product. For example, with my clients, so engineering companies, they really expect that you know the technology. That's right. Why normally salespeople are. It's not a beginner's job. It's normally a job for maybe people who have been working there for 5 years, maybe inside sales, and then you learn something. But I think the challenge is to still have the openness to not to stick with the technology and not to explain everything that you know about the product and the technology, but to really ask a lot of questions and always learn about the customer. I believe, that's how I see my clients. I believe that every single customer is, I always call it conundrum, so like a puzzle. It's an individual puzzle. Okay. And you always have to investigate, you always have to start with a blank sheet of paper. So forget everything that you know and start asking questions, and then you won't make any mistakes.
Okay.
Because you're not prejudiced anymore.
Got it.
And that's I would say where you learn quite fast, and also coming back to startups, where you are able to enter new market segments, because you do not have to be an expert. You have to be the one who listens to the customer. That's the difference.
Okay. So I'm a scientist, for example. I want to start a startup.
Yeah.
Whom should I choose? Another scientist as a co-founder, or a business development person, or sales? As a priority.
I would say starting with a sales manager is a threat.
Oh.
Because very many sales managers expect a set product that they can sell.
Okay.
I would say you need, depending on your strengths. If you're the technical guy, I would say you definitely need a commercial guy. So who's taking care of the money and making sure that we're not too much overconfident. Let's put it this way. And you need someone who is not afraid of approaching clients, going into the market, asking 100 questions, but that doesn't mean that he or she has to be working in sales beforehand.
Okay.
It's more about the attitude. So you need someone who is not afraid of approaching people he or she does not know yet, and who's not afraid asking 100 questions.
Yeah.
Because that one will eventually solve the conundrum of the product market fit, even if it takes time. Sales is, so the function sales, the department sales is more or less a skill everyone can learn.
Okay.
There is not it's not an art, it's not a talent you have to bring into the relationship. It's a skill. It's like doing PowerPoint, it's like doing controlling, doing sales.
We can learn it.
We can learn it. Exactly, we can learn it. So I would search more for a mindset, for an attitude, than for experience.
Got it. But as a sales experts, I think you break ice every time, every hour, every day. How to break the ice? So, how to make a first contact? Email, phone call, or of course in the conferences and all, you can do that. Maybe in your experience, what do you think is the best way to break the ice? And not to get the wrong impression for the first time.
I would say that's depending on the target group. If you are active, if you have been active in this field in the past, then normally people have a much broader network as they think, because they know people who know people. And LinkedIn, I think, is a good platform for that, because in LinkedIn you can also see who is your contact in a second grade, for example. And I would start with recommendations of the network. So I would say 8 of 10 startups, I have no numbers on that, that's just my gut feeling, get their first 10 clients from their network and not from cold calling or cold emailing or social media. In my network, I only know 2 founders who really started their company with cold calling.
Wow.
So I would start with the own with someone's own network, and you don't have to have the perfect pitch. I think very many people, I would say more than 90% of the people, really want to support founders. So because they want to support founders, so people who found a company, who start a company, and the problem is they don't know how. Because if you are maybe an executive in a company, you cannot just decide we're gonna test that solution and invest a lot of money in that. That will require a buying center, right? A lot of other people to convince as well. But if you just approach them by, hey, I'm a founder, I want to ask 100 questions. I have an idea, I have this beautiful cup, but I really want to make sure whether this cup is also what you need. So would you allow me that I am going to ask you 100 questions? Is that okay? I need 1 hour of your precious time. I won't pitch you anything. I won't prevent you from buying in the end if you want to, but I will just ask questions, poke 100 questions. And what I've experienced, I've never seen a rejection here. That someone says, no, you're not allowed to ask your questions, regardless of the culture. So, of course, you have to do it differently in different cultures, right? There are different ways of doing that. But that's my advice how to start something like that. Breaking the ice, I would say, is always being honest. Just tell the truth. I'm a founder. I have a beautiful product. At least I think it's beautiful. I'm not sure whether also the market is thinking is beautiful. I believe you in my target market segment. So your opinion will be crucial for me to find out whether I've created the right product or whether I have the right image of a product. So would you allow me that I'm gonna ask 100 questions? And every interview that you conduct is a potential referral to another guy, because people in an industry know other people in the industry. If you have, for example, if you're looking for we're talking about labs. If you're talking about, if you have maybe the commercial head of a laboratory, then maybe he's active in the network and knows very many other commercial heads of laboratories. So you can recommend you to other people, and I think it's also the safe way of doing that, because you have so many benefits. I believe people to be very intelligent. So if you ask 100 questions and they, in the end, they find out that what you propose is exactly what they need, they will immediately tell you that. And they will say, hey, Gini, this is what I was looking for such a long time. Can you show me that? And then, of course, we don't prevent anyone from buying, right? But you have both advantages. They will tell you if they need something like that, because I think they were going to find out the direction anyway if you ask 100 questions. And you learn so much about the market, the product, the need, everything.
There is no sales involved here.
There's no sales involved. Whatever sales is, right? And I think what you say is true. So sales is very often being perceived as we have to convince people, we have to approach people, we have to leave the comfort zone. Okay, we have to leave the comfort zone, but that's regardless of the position. You have to do that anyway. You should do that anyway. But in my eyes, sales is 95% is listening to the customer and not talking and not trying to make other people do something. It's more learning, it's more understanding, it's what a scientist would do anyway, right? A scientist is used to poking 100 questions. So I think scientists can be very good salespeople because they are used to solving conundrums. They just have to do that with people and not with technology anymore.
That's quite interesting. So, yes, how do you handle the rejection?
The rejection?
No. Yeah? The word no.
Yeah. I think it's dependent on your objective. If you go into a meeting, maybe an interview with someone in your target market segment from whom you want to learn, and your objective is to sell something, then you are, of course, disappointed if you won't succeed. But if your objective is to learn something, then your objective is still fulfilled, because there is a reason why. I would say I would assess the rejection. I would assess the no, whether the no is really hurting me, by the fact whether I understand the no. If I get a no and I really have no clue why I now get the no, then I have a problem with that no, because I'm not learning anything from this no. If I get a no and I think, hey, if I had been in his position, I would have decided the same way. I have no problem with the no, because I would have decided the same.
So no is a learning opportunity.
It's an opportunity to learn. And this is how we should perceive the no. And with every no we can do something better. If you have an established sales process, the no should also not come from the client, but from you. Because a well-functioning sales process does not mean that the client, in the end of the process, after we've investing a lot of time and money into every single opportunity, is telling us that he doesn't want to work with us. It's us who recognizes that very early in the funnel, in the sales process, that we don't get the right reaction from the client. And there's always an early indicator that you're going to receive a no in the end. There's never ever you get everything you want and in the end you get the no. Maybe you haven't listened properly in the beginning, but there are always early indicators where you could have recognized that this will end up with a no. So I would say the earlier the no is coming, and whether it's from our side coming. So if you have an established sales process as a startup, you have to do that anyway, because you have, per definition, limited resources. You cannot follow up on every single opportunity, especially if an opportunity needs invests like trials, like demos, setting up demo environments as a software company, conducting trials as an engineering company. You have to invest into an opportunity. You cannot invest into every single opportunity, so you have to figure out very quickly when to say no yourself. And to come back to your question, I would say you have to review. You could review your own objective. I mean, disappointment comes from expectations. If you expect a yes from every single call, it will be very hard to go very positive out of the day. But if you expect to learn a lot, then it's far easier to handle the no.
But if you are an employee and you have some targets, but how to handle that? It's a lot of pressure, right? Kind of, what do you give advice to upcoming salespeople
in a startup?
Yeah. Why not in startups? Yes,
I would say display very open the product market fit to the manager. So, if you approach 10 clients, then the question is, in what stage is the product already? Is it in a well-rounded product market fit already? Then the question is, why do we get the no? Is competition? Do we have competition that is quicker or cheaper or has a better technology? Is it that we have poor processes, right? Poor reaction time, takes too long to create quotes, takes too long to do trials, for example. The question is, what is the problem? So we call this the hit rate, right? The hit rate, if you start 10 sales opportunities, the question is, how many do we win?
Exactly.
In the end, and every no is a feedback, and you can channel that feedback to the manager. Maybe the advice would be, stay in close communication with the management. Display the feedback, channel the feedback of the market, so that the company can learn. And I believe there are a hit rate is consisting of different elements. So one is the competition. If you have a strong competition, then naturally the hit rate is lower. If you have poor processes, so you're late, you're making mistakes, there are complaints, then naturally that will influence the hit rate. That will also influence the reputation in the market, of course. And the third one is the product market fit. So do we really have a product market fit? Are we really solving a problem? And is this problem evolving as well?
It's kind of you're complaining back.
Really? You're channeling complaints and feedback into your own company, so that the company can learn.
Is that okay? It's a good approach?
From my perspective, it's the only option you have. Because what will be the consequence if you don't do that? The manager has no feeling about the market, maybe. He's just getting the numbers that you have a 15% hit rate. So you have to start 150 opportunities to get 10 wins, 10 deals. But if you don't channel the feedback, the management is not learning something about the market. And they are judging maybe the 15% with their own experience, but that experience may come from a completely different environment, where 30% was completely natural. And normally, I also have my clients throwing numbers around and benchmarks from completely different markets and market environments and market segments, and comparing two things you cannot compare with, and then you're in trouble anyway, because you cannot explain the number, right? Because they're saying, hey, we expect a 30% hit rate of you. But that's not possible in the market because of competition, because of the product market fit and everything else. So I think it's the only option you have.
Wow, that's really nice. I'm really enjoying this podcast. Really, because it's a lot of misconceptions, and I think people don't know really, if they don't hit the targets, how to deal with the management. It's very important also. It's not like it's not like complaining. It's like taking the feedback. Learning. You are still active. You're not you're not accepting your defeat, but you're taking back the feedback to the management. Eventually they're going to like you, right?
Wow. They have to, because if they don't, they're gonna have a problem themselves. Because if you don't reach the numbers, it's very likely that they don't reach the numbers as well. So they have to explain themselves to the owner or the board or the shareholders or the supervisory board or their own manager. So they have to explain the same thing. If you don't channel the feedback to them, they don't have a feedback that they can channel to the other managers. And very often, sales is not the root cause of the problem, because you need a team, right? A company is a team. You have sales, you have the purchasing department, you have product management, you have the production, so operations, supply chain, you have the marketing department, you have HR department, you have innovation, R&D, you have the finance department, and every department has to work together because they have one job to satisfy the customer. So satisfying the customer is not a sales job alone. It's a job of the entire management team. And if the management is not reaching the numbers, the root cause has to be somewhere. Naturally, people are starting to investigate in sales, right? Because sales didn't sell enough. That's obvious. But the question is, why didn't they sell enough? And the root cause behind that question could be completely could be found completely in another department. Maybe supply chain is purchasing too expensive, and we are not competitive in the market in sales. Maybe logistics is having poor processes and we're delivering too late, and our reputation is suffering.
Exactly.
Maybe marketing,
technical support
isn't working. So the customers not onboarded very well, or maybe they don't get the spare parts in time, and you don't, and that is affecting your reputation in the market. It's a teamwork.
Right.
It's not a sales in the sales job, and that's also the reason why I love the hit rate as a number, as a KPI so much, because the hit rate is on one hand reflecting the abilities of sales, but on the other hand, it's also reflecting how well the company is really working to get together, and how well the product market fit is still, because the problem of the customer is also evolving. If you have the perfect product market fit today, could be the case.
It's going to be changed.
It's going to be changed. It could be the case that in 2 years' time, you have a poor product market fit. So you cannot stick with the same product and the same solution. You have to do something. And I believe if you take those three elements, so do you have the right sales approach? If you still have the right product market fit, do you really see serving the customer as a teamwork within all the departments of a company? Then you have one KPI that is the hit rate. And if you investigate why the hit rate is the hit rate, so why the hit rate is as it is, then you will find out that you have to do something in one of those three areas.
Wow. Many years back in India, I attended an interview as a salesperson. So the interviewer asked me, he gave me a pen and then,
sell me the pen.
Yeah, nice. I didn't understand. I couldn't even start the selling. So even then later on, I've seen this in a movie. Exactly. Yeah. So can you comment on what is this stuff about selling the pen? If any interviewer asks new people, salespeople, how should I answer?
Yeah. First of all, why are they doing this? They want to challenge your mindset.
Okay.
Because with this little exercise, they will immediately find out whether you're the talking guy or the asking questions guy. Because if I would say 95% of the people start describing the pen. This is a beautiful pen. This is
yes, exactly. Even I think I try to do that.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. And that's a natural thing to do, right? Because if I give you a product, the product is everything you have, and then you start describing the product. So I would say there are three options you can choose.
Yeah.
First is describing the pen. This is not really an option because that's the reason why they have asking you or giving you this assignment.
Okay.
The second is you can point out the benefits of the pen. So maybe because this pen is made of metal, it's more ecological compared to made of plastics.
Okay.
But then you're still having assumptions, so you need a question afterwards, and because you have to find out whether the customer is interested in this buying motive, that he want to have a more sustainable pen, for example. The third way is that you ask questions. So, and I would say the most obvious question is, do you really need a pen at the moment?
Wow.
Because if they don't need a pen at all, and a pen is just a substitute for a textile machine or a pump or a nice software for a laboratory. If they don't need a pump, you won't sell a pump.
Got it.
You cannot make them. You cannot create. You cannot print the demand for a pump if there is no demand for a pump. And so, what they normally want to find out is the attitude with what you approach your opponent. Yeah. So you have those three options. I would start just asking the question: do you really need a pen?
That's really nice. That's really nice. So,
I would say a mistake we still very often make is underestimating the buying center. So the buying center is consisting of all the people influencing a decision.
okay.
And normally we talk to one or two or three people on the customer side, depending on the deal size. So if you have maybe a 20k sale, maybe not that many people are involved. But if you have a 300k sale or maybe a 2 million euro or dollar sale, very many people will naturally be involved. And a mistake we still very often make is underestimate the complexity of the buying center. We just talk to too few people.
Okay.
And now, even though we have the methodology and the experience and have made this mistake before, we still make the mistake. So that's one example. And maybe a deal we've closed very recently was within a manufacturing company, was also regarding the complexity of the buying center, because we have been talking to the sales director. And naturally, we know that we have to talk to the managing directors as well. So we scheduled a meeting with the managing directors and asked 100 questions, but we didn't ask one question. And later we found out in the process that they had a completely different image what had to be done. So we were closely collaborating with the sales director, and he was pretty much in line with us, so aligned with us and with our solution. And then we were in the final meeting, and the managing directors proposed something completely random from our perspective, so completely different. So we wanted to do opportunity management with them, and they were asking for a lead list, a market segmentation, and we were in the meeting thinking like, why are they now talking about market segmentation? We're talking about opportunity management. So the normal sales process, and they were kind of somewhere completely else.
Okay.
And even though we had the meeting, we haven't managed to really bring those two images together. So what we've learned in this process here is that we have to ask the question, what is the solution you have in mind relatively early in the process, because luckily they still decided to work with us, but it wouldn't have surprised me if they had decided differently, because we didn't manage to bring the two images together. They're internal images. So one side of the buying center was sticking to our solution. One part of the buying center was somewhere completely different. They had a completely different solution in mind, and we didn't manage to bring them together. And And I think that's important to really find out who's involved on the customer side and what do they have in mind. And just because we're talking to one group in the buying center doesn't mean that they are exchanging internally with the others as well. So that's our job in sales.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were there any embarrassing situations for you at the beginning? Did you feel that?
I wouldn't say so. So I would say only on exhibitions and events, approaching people. Like it's always leaving the comfort zone to approach people. I like to go to conferences because then you have the guy who are having the speech, conducting the speech, and while they're conducting the speech, you can write down a lot of questions and then approach the guys afterwards, because then you can ask very detailed questions about what they've just said. But during a sales process, I wouldn't say so. I would say it was more like that we receive a lot of positive feedback, that we're really asking so many questions. Really try to understand what people are up to.
You make your approaching process ideal so that there is no room for such kind of rejections.
It's how you program yourself. If you start the sales process with the expectation that you don't close every opportunity in the end, because you won't. There are 100 things that can happen, right? One day before they wanted to decide for you the solution, the CFO calls the other managers and say, we're short on cash, we have to stop everything. Then you're don't win the deal. But 2 days beforehand, you would have won the deal. So there are 100 things that can happen that have nothing to do with you. So you have to accept the fact that you won't win everything in the end. And the other thing is that whether you really learn something from every single opportunity.
Good.
And every single opportunity is something where you could learn anything, and that's important. Disappointment comes from expectation.
Sure. Yeah.
And if you don't expect to win everything, but if you expect to learn all the time, then you will win every time.
Every time. That's cool.
Yeah.
So now can you tell me about what your company is doing right now?
Sure. So my company is called Scope and Solve.
Okay.
And the reason why we have that name is because we scope and solve the conundrums, so the puzzles of our clients. Okay. And we call that the market conundrums, so the market challenges. And we scope them, so we understand and structure them, and then we solve them. So we help them to set up the right processes, to identify the market segments, to hit the internal objectives. So we perceive ourselves as a sales process consultancy, but we're not just defining the process with the clients, we're also helping them to implement that. Because I always say at some point in time they have to fire us again, because they do not want to employ us forever, right? We're in a consultancy, a partner, a temporarily engaged partner. And they have, while working with us, they have to learn how to do it themselves.
Right.
And that's the reason why they have to get rid of us eventually. But in the beginning, we set up the processes, we help them to change, we normally sort the right market segments and find out what is the right market segment to tackle. And we're working with startups, but also with enterprises who are active in India and in China.
Throughout the world?
Yeah, throughout the world.
Wow.
That's really nice. So we love to work internationally. So we always say, politicians do their own thing. We want to bridge the gap. We want to create connections between India and China, between Europe and China, between America and China, between India and Europe.
Yeah.
And there's also, if you have an Indian sales team and a European sales team, the process is still the same. There are 100 deviations of the process, of course, because of culture, because of pace, because of how sales is perceived, because of how decisions are being made in the country. because of the market structure, whether you have a lot of large enterprises or very many family-owned smaller companies, for example, a lot of startups. But we want to enable teams to exchange. So normally, once we start, you have an Indian team and you have an European team, and they do their own stuff. They do not learn from each other. And we set up the process in a way that they are able to exchange. And they're also able to express the local requirements. For example, in China, we normally find out that they're making decisions much faster than we used to do that in Germany or in Central Europe. So we can learn from China, because they have to, if the customer want to decide so quickly, you also have to set up your processes in a way that you can react so quickly. Create proposals, propose trials, set up demo environments, everything. Everything has to be much quicker, right? And that's something where Europeans can learn from Chinese colleagues. There are other ways where Chinese colleagues can learn from European colleagues, like investigating more about the application beforehand, before we sell something, and stuff like that. And that's how we perceive international collaboration. So individual requirements need to be respected. The process is pretty much the same, with 100 details in every country that has to be different because of legal requirements, because of cultural requirements, because of decision-making processes, because of the market structure. But nonetheless, we can learn from each other. And we have to exchange data anyway. Because we want to sell the same cup in different countries anyway, right? So we have to learn how things are going and what are the differences in different countries. And that's how we work. So we love to work international, and we love to solve our clients' sales and market conundrums.
Interesting. So I'm going to put your company address in the description.
Nice.
If someone from India or some other country want to approach you,
sure.
What can they do in the forefront? Calling or writing in the webs?
Both. So they can WhatsApp me, they can email me.
WhatsApp you?
Yeah, that's fine. And they can expect one thing, that I'm gonna ask 100 questions. But everything is okay that I'm gonna learn, because I want to learn from the ones who approach me.
Okay.
And we now also start to approach customers in China. So if an Indian company would approach us, I would love that, because then that would mean that we are going to learn much more about Indian market as well, right? They're going to learn how to do sales. We're going to learn much more about India. So I would love that.
Nice. What is your opinion on upcoming AI and a lot of robust softwares, or even a robo is going to go to the market to sell directly?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the development of AI is pretty fast. I have my own opinion on that. I'm not sure whether this will pan out true, but at least it's my conviction. I would say, if you talk about commodities, like raw material, like spare parts, like products in the early stage of a value chain, or maybe standard services as well, like office cleaning, for example, that may be very well replaced by robots and artificial intelligence, because that's very simple to cover. I believe if you have complex buying processes, it may even get easier to compare stuff, but that will mean that the need for good salespeople who are really listening to the customer is even more urgent. I believe if you have complex stuff, if you have decisions being made to decide complex solutions, we still will need people, because people resemble trust. there's still a relationship. And I mean, this is much more important in other countries than Germany, right? In Germany, it's important to have a network, but I believe in other countries, it's even more important to have this personal network and relationship. And I think this personal relationship, this personal network means trust. The trusted advisor, the partner that helps you to really make a decision, to make the right decision. I believe AI will help salespeople in 100 ways. Maybe it will increase the active selling time. So active selling time is the time a sales manager is really interacting with his clients.
Okay.
That's pretty low in very many cases. In very many cases, it's maybe 20%. So it's really low. And maybe AI leaning up the whole day, generating more time really to engage with the customers, which is pretty much a good decision, a good direction in my eyes, because normally sales guys want to interact with their clients. They want to do the bureaucracy, filling the whole CRM stuff and creating the proposals and reading through a 100-page legal document in order to fulfill all the requirements. Everything can be done by AI, I believe.
Right.
So people really have more time for people. And that's generally speaking a good direction in my eyes.
What actually did you really see the change from last 8 years? The influx of softwares or AI. What you actually think is really changed
in sales?
Yeah, in sales compared to last 8 years.
So in my industry, so engineering companies, I wouldn't say that there hasn't so much changed already, but I think there will change a lot, especially with the CRM systems implementing their first set of AI features, like the Copilot in Dynamics, Microsoft Dynamics.
Yeah.
Salesforce also having a couple of AI functions, and all the other CRMs, they just have to follow, right? You cannot not do that because you have to stay competitive, right, in the market. Once the first set of AI features is really rolled out and people know how to work with that, I think very much will change. One thing is how we work with CRM systems. So in the past we had to type a lot. Now we just talk, right? And the generative AI will just bring that beautifully shaped into the CRM in whatever language you want to have. Okay. And I believe that if you are in a car, very soon you might have your AI assistant, you talk to them, right? I have been visiting Giri and we have been discussing this and that, and can you please create me a task for tomorrow that I'm gonna make the proposal? Can you inform my colleague from inside sales, and can you create an update for product development that they know what's going on here, and everything is being done. It's even more changing for service technicians. Okay. I believe, because I mean, they have to create service reports. They have to know how to handle every single machine type, right? And you can solve that very easily with AI and support them. Okay. Like if you have the glasses or maybe a tablet where they say, okay, I have this and that machine type and this and that error, and dear AI, what do I have to do? What is the most likely problem that this machine has? And I think preparing for meetings, if you are on the way to a customer in a car, then you say to the AI maybe, hey, I'm on the way to this client. Can you give me a 360-degree overview of the client? So what are current complaints? What are open offers? What are the last 3 orders? What is the installed base? So the products they've already bought in the past with us. Maybe you also find out what are the 5 most important questions I should ask. And you all get that while driving, right? So you just ask and get the answer. And this is this is changing a lot, the whole environment, but I believe that it'll make the job of a sales manager much easier and much more efficient. And I believe this active selling time, because I think in the past, the problem with digitalization, because of so purely executed, was that it was actively reducing the selling time. So we were promising the sales managers, hey, you're going to get the CRM and you're gonna have more selling time. But the reality was, there was much more bureaucracy, and they were spending so many more hours just to fill in the data in the CRM, right?
Okay.
So it was just a straight lie if we told them you're gonna get more time with your clients. But I believe, at least that's my conviction at the moment, that we can make it up to this former promise again, and just say, hey, with AI you really get more active selling time again, more time with your clients, because the AI will really help you to handle the system correctly. And I think this is something I really would wish for sales guys, because normally the sales guys, I know they want to spend time with their clients, and to an 80% degree they cannot, because of bureaucracy, because of filling the CRM system, because of reading through legal documents, because of handling complaints, because of internal meetings, because of creating proposals and offers, because of troubleshooting, because of poorly executed order management. There's always those 80% are holding them back from really spending time with the clients. So doing what they really love to do. And I believe that AI can help us to redirect in the right direction.
Okay. So Sebastian, so finally, can you give some message to the founders, fresh founders, whether it could be a product oriented or a service oriented? What message do you give to them?
So my message is, I know that you're gonna love your product, because normally if you found a startup, you have a pretty good idea about the product. My wish is that you don't forget the customer, because in the end, both things should match. And do not be afraid of asking 100 questions. If you find out while asking the 100 questions that the beautiful product is not what the customer needs, don't worry. You have two options: change the client or change the product. And both is valid.
That's a nice message. So with that, I wish you all the best. And thank you very much once again for coming to my podcast.
Thanks for inviting. Also enjoyed it very much talking to you, Giri.
A pleasure.